Hi, this is Roxy Rose, and this is another edition of Transitioning Late in Life. Just to give you a little background information, if you didn't see the sections before this, I'm 49. I transitioned 2 years ago, and I was born in a large family. I was the middle child of 5 children. I had 2 older brothers, a younger brother, and then, of course, a baby sister. And I was the middle child, and I was the neglected middle child, and I definitely fit the bill to the T. I got in more trouble than any of the kids, and I did more drugs than any of the other people in our family, and I drank more and was more reckless, etc. Never was interested in girls. Wasn't interested in guys either. Really didn't know where I fit in. The only transsexual that I ever heard of was that person on the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I knew I wasn't that person. So I really didn't know where I fit in life. Socializing was very difficult for me, so I never did socialize. Didn't have very many friends, and couldn't look people in the eye, and couldn't talk to people really. This section, I want to address a very serious accident that I was involved in, because it was really a life-changing event. My life was kind of going one direction. You know, I was learning to accept my strangeness, let's say. It was complicated to me, and I didn't know where I belonged in life, but nevertheless, I was learning to just kind of accept the fact that I was kind of weird. So I'm going to address an accident that, like I said, kind of changed the course of my life. As I said, I was taken out of school at 15 and a half, so I worked for the family business. I worked about 45 hours a week then, and for a kid working that many hours, there's really not that much time left in the day to spend your money. So I managed to save a fair amount of money, and I bought myself a nice sports car. In fact, I bought myself a nice Porsche. And I loved driving fast, and driving fast around town and showing off a bit. This one evening, I was on my way home. And my parents lived about 10 miles outside of Palm Springs. Well, there was very little development outside of Palm Springs at the time. It was about 1979. And the last stop sign before you got to my parents' house was about 5.5 miles from their house. So there was a stop sign, and then there was this just long desert road. Like I said, 5.5 miles. No other stop signs or stop lights or street lights or lighting of any kind. It was just a small it wasn't dirt, but a small desert road. And I would usually drive pretty fast on my way home. There were no police officers out there at that time in that area. So I would really drive pretty fast. And at times on that road I would go 100 or more. And this one evening, it was about 9 o'clock at night, and as I said, I was on my way home, and I was going really fast, and I was about a mile from our house, and I think I was probably close to 120, maybe. I might even been going faster than 120. And it was a dark evening that evening, and I remember seeing something, kind of coming out of the desert, just barely. And at the time out there were a lot of coyotes that, crossed the road, and jackrabbits and things like that were kind of a nuisance out there. And I seen something coming out of the desert, and as it just, as I said, I was going about 120 or so, and as it, my headlights caught a glimpse of it, it was too late to react. And I didn't know what it was at first, but then when it appeared right in my lane, right in front of me, I realized that it was a man. And I couldn't turn, or I couldn't do anything. I was going too fast. I swerved to the left, but I still hit him anyways. I veered off the road and came to a stop off the road in the desert, and I don't remember really much other than that. And the windshield was lying on my lap, and the roof of my car was torn off, and I climbed out of the car and tried to get my bearings as to what just happened. And all I could see in the dim light, just kind of a mess on the street. Not anything really left. And there was nobody around, no houses, nothing. I was just in the middle of the desert, and I wished somebody was there. I didn't know what to do. There was nothing I could do. I just knew in my head that whatever happened just then, and whatever was lying on the road, there was nothing that could be done. There wasn't, from my viewpoint, and I was quite a ways from the accident scene by the time I came to a stop, but from my viewpoint, there wasn't really anything left there. My car was completely demolished, and I was covered in blood, and I remember just feeling just so alone. I was just alone, and I so badly wanted somebody there, and I didn't know what to do. Off in the distance, I seen a pair of headlights, and it just seemed like it took forever for them to get there. But when the headlights finally came upon the accident scene, they stopped, and it seemed like they knew exactly what to do. They got a blanket out from their trunk and placed it over whatever remains were there. And then they came, then they drove up to me to see me, and I was standing by the side of the road at that time. And like I said, I was covered in blood, so they thought I was injured, but I wasn't. I had small cuts from the windshield, but all the blood and everything was from the man that I had hit. And luckily, it turns out that the person that arrived first was a off-duty police officer. So he did know exactly what to do, and he had a radio in his car, and he called for help. And the police arrived, and a few minutes later my dad arrived. I was only a mile from the house, so they were able to call him. And as I said, I wasn't my parents' favorite by any means. And I did get into a lot of trouble, and they didn't like me for that. So, my dad's first reaction was, he just stomped over to me and kind of grabbed me and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he just kind of stomped on over to the police and talked to them for a while. And after a little bit, they just said we could go home. There was no charges filed, even though I was speeding. They deemed it contributory negligence. Because, what was that person in the middle of the desert, 9 o'clock at night? What on earth was he doing running out in front of me? It just made no sense. And to me at that time, it made no sense, and I just felt like I just had to blame myself. I was speeding, I was there, I had to blame myself, and I did. And I felt really bad about the situation. And I got very depressed about it. But that evening, they let us go home right away, and I walked into our house, and everybody was watching TV, and nobody really said anything to me. And my dad just kind of went into his bedroom and talked to my mom. And I was a mess, so I had to go take a shower and change my clothes, which I did, and then I made my bed up for the evening, and I laid there in bed, and everybody kind of just went into their bedrooms and went to sleep. I couldn't sleep, though. I was so just panicked and feeling so bad about myself and what had happened, and I just couldn't go to sleep. And about 2 or 3 in the morning, I just was feeling so alone. I came to my parents' room and I nudged my dad a little bit and said, "Dad, can I please sleep on the floor next to you?" And he woke up real gruff and said, "Oh, just go back to bed. You'll fall asleep." And I said, "No, Dad, I can't sleep. Can I please sleep next to you on the floor?" And he said, "Just go to bed, close your eyes, and you'll fall asleep." And I started to cry, and he finally gave in and said, "Fine, go to sleep on the floor." And I did. I didn't fall asleep, but at least I felt like I was close to somebody, you know. And the next day, it just, it didn't get any better. Nobody said anything, and I so desperately wanted somebody to tell me that it wasn't my fault. To give me a hug and say it was okay. That never happened. So I got really depressed, and I started thinking about suicide, and I did, got deeper and deeper into drugs, and until a while after that, I ended up in the hospital with a drug overdose, and well, then my parents thought that they should get me counseling. So my grandmother recommended a psychologist who had treated a friend of hers, and my parents made an appointment in Santa Monica to see this psychologist. So they drove me up to Santa Monica and dropped me off in front of this big building, and told me, what room to go to, and I did. And it was the, typical fancy psychologist office. I'd never been to a psychologist before, but he welcomed me into his office and sat me down and said, "So what can I do for you?" And I thought, well, he's a psychologist. He'll be able to help me. So I kind of just told him everything, all my feelings, my suicidal thoughts, and being depressed and all that and everything, And I talked a lot, and I was nervous, and I just thought I'd just tell him everything. And after about a half an hour, he stopped me, and he said, "Well, how is it that you got my information and my number?" And I said, "Well, you came highly recommended by my grandmother's friend, a friend of the family." And he says, "Well, that's funny because I'm a weight doctor and I counsel people with weight problems." And gosh, I just kind of sank right then, I thought, gee whiz. Anyways, he sent me out of there, we were done. I didn't even get a whole hour to talk to him. Or not to talk to him, but, I just didn't even get my whole hour. He said he just sent me on my way. He didn't even recommend another psychologist. So that was the end of my psychological evaluation, so to speak. So my parents, I was still enrolled in continuation school, so my parents arranged that I talk to a counselor. So I went to see this counselor who was a really nice guy, and I thought, well, I'll talk to him about everything, including, feeling of being different or not liking girls and that sort of stuff. And he was a really nice guy, but he was in way over his head. And you could tell that by the expression on his face and, his lack of response. And after about the third or fourth meeting, he said to me, "So, you said your family's very religious, right?" And I said yes. And he says, "Well, is there some clergy that you could talk to there?" And I thought, oh darn, that's strike two. I'm not doing so well. So that's what I did. I went and talked to the elders in our church, congregation, or whatever you want to call it. So I went and talked to the elders. So I'm going to end this section here. This is where my life takes a turn toward religion and marriage, etc. Hopefully everything makes sense to you and you could kind of in your mind develop the story yourself. The next section I'll talk about religion and marriage. So for right now, this is all. This has been Roxy Rose, and this is a multiple part section on transitioning late in life and why we do so. So for now, it's goodbye, and I'll see you on the next section.